if they expect me to walk away from Luton with nothing, I'll make very sure there's nothing to walk away from.
Hello and welcome to the Oak Road Hatter podcast after what was yet another thrilling game involving Luton Town. It was of course Newcastle United 4, Luton Town 2. Still don't think I'm over everything that came our way on Saturday. It was pure chaos from the train up there, I think it's fair to say. What a game. We're going to dive straight into that after this intro. It was a result that, with combining other results in and around us, means that we're still outside the relegation places, which is of course fantastic. I'm with Jamie Castle and Kieran Robertson today. Jamie, how are you?
Not too bad. It's been a while. I'm just saying off air. It's been a good 3 weeks. Was away in the delights of the sun, or that is Mexico, for a week and a half, and then been back a week now, and we scored 8 goals. So it's not too bad, is it, at the minute?
It's that Dubai trip, I think. The lads going to Dubai, I think that's worked wonders.
Bit of vitamin D.
Kieran, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. And I sat down earlier, and one of my workmates and me were having a conversation. She was asking a bit about my personal life, and she said, "Luton are doing well at the moment, aren't they?" And I went, "Yeah, I've been single 2 weeks, and we haven't fucking lost yet." All in all, what a great time to be alive. Luton winning. Kieran's life looks a bit more free. We are where we are. All in all, it was a mouthful of a drive to Newcastle and back. And in fairness, I've had a lot of you message me saying, "Do you know what? Fair play to you for doing a near 6-hour round trip, or like 6 hours one way, 6 hours back." What a game to go up for, by the way. Like, we're going to dissect it shortly, but just all the miles that I personally travel, like, it's not common, well, it is common knowledge that I'm a good 2-hour drive from Luton. So every game is an away day for me. Like, Reading away was the best I got last year. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, we're doing your Liverpools, you're doing your Manchesters, we're doing in Newcastle. But every second and every mile is worth it for a result like that, even if we didn't get the 3 points. So, go on, Bill, take it away. Let's get into it.
Kieran, just a quick question. What was worse? Was the 6.5 hour drive to Newcastle worse, or was the 8 hour bus to Sunderland worse? Or was it Borough or Sunderland? Like either or.
So,
yeah.
Middlesbrough. That was, so for context, that was an overnight coach. So we were playing Saturday 3:00. An overnight coach on the Friday night from London. So I already had to travel to London to then get an overnight coach to Middlesbrough, of all places. And then we lost 2-1. I would say that was a hell of a lot worse, without a doubt. Because at least with Newcastle, I had the freedom of driving. I could stop when I wanted. I could go get food. I could jam to my own music. Like, it was a great time, kind of.
But you couldn't get on the Geordie beers.
No, but equally, I didn't have the time. So, swings and roundabouts, and there'll always be a caveat. But, hey, we are where we are.
The things we do for this football club. And that probably opens it up to everybody watching, listening. What is the worst kind of journey you've had to get to a Luton match and endure a result like that hasn't quite gone our way. I'm sure there are some similarly as bad stories to Kieran's there. But we're talking Newcastle. We're talking a fantastic away day, 8-goal thriller. It still feels mad to concede 4 goals and still walk away with a point. I think the first thing we'll get to, Jamie, were Newcastle fans, because atmospheres in the Premier League this season, and we've mentioned it a few times, it's been quite disappointing, but Newcastle delivered on all fronts, probably helped by the fact that it was an 8-goal thriller. But everybody we spoke to before the game, after the game, great people, had lots of respect for Luton. And a lot of them were hoping we stay up at the expense of Everton, which I couldn't quite get my head around, but that's the way they seem to lean. It was a great away day, and the Geordies are good people, aren't they?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's a great city, one club city, perfect stadium sort of situation where it's a 15-minute walk from the station, so you can have beers in the city pubs and then stroll up the slight incline up to the stadium. So yeah, great city, great footballing city, and great people. And yeah, it's the sort of club that if my gene pool luck was different and I was born in the area, it's a club that I would certainly go to and support. But no, yeah, it's nice to have fans that actually get Luton a little bit. They've not quite been in our situation, but they've been down to the Championship. They've experienced sort of like the lower levels of English football and aren't just sort of Premier League focused. So yeah, great people. Atmosphere fantastic. I mean, for those that have been to most aways this year, like us, I mean, the atmospheres have been incredibly awful. To be honest, you think you've been to Old Trafford, Villa Park, sort of 2 staples of English football, and they were dull as dishwater. So then to go to Newcastle and see the atmosphere that they created, yeah, okay, the 8-goal thriller helped, but even before that, it was a decent atmosphere in the build up, and then obviously they went 1 up, and the game went on as it did. But all in all, well, it's by far the best atmosphere I've experienced outside Kenilworth Road this season.
The one bit, Kieran, that I know you've tweeted about since, but we were sitting in Shearer's bar. We were probably, it was maybe 90% Newcastle, 10% Luton, or slightly more Luton. But Newcastle brought out a legend of the club, John Beresford, to speak about the game. And let's just say, Kieran, he didn't really have much of a clue about Luton. And some of the comments he made were in fact quite laughable.
Like, I know why you've asked me this question and you've not asked Jamie this question, but like, it was just one of those moments where, like, at first, obviously, he obviously got introduced on stage, and evidently they do this for every home game. They bring out some sort of Newcastle legend or whatever. And at first, none of us are really paying attention. And then all of a sudden, I just heard him just say the words, something along the lines of, "The pitch looks bloody brilliant and we're going to pass them to death." And all of a sudden, my eyes were like, okay. And before he'd even said anything else, Jamie went, "It's not even how Newcastle play football, firstly." And I was like, yeah, great point. Next question. So then he proceeded to say that we would get beaten by 3 or more easily. That was the word. It wasn't even like comfortable. It was easily win by 3 or more goals. They would pass us to death. And he said that a team like Luton would be looking for every little advantage that they can get. They were the words out of Beresford's mouth. And the more he spoke, the more you could just see the Geordies in front of him kind of just grimacing, like thinking, what on earth are you saying? Like, you could tell this was not a shared opinion. Like, this was, Newcastle weren't a fan base that were like, do you know what? Luton are crap. They were not thinking that at all. And you could see it in their faces. They were just kind of looking at him like, Yep, thanks for that. Cheers, John. Thank you for digging us an unnecessary hole here and making us look really stupid. And lo and behold, at full time, you just look like a massive idiot. Like, it's just, I understand it's not like top level punditry, it's not Sky Sports, right? But it's just the prime example, and I'll quote you, Bill. You literally looked straight at me and you went, it's a prime example that just because you're a good footballer doesn't mean you actually know anything about football. And it's true. That is the most. If I've ever heard an opinion and thought you're stuck in the 90s, it is that. It's just that Luton are this small little club and they're quite irrelevant and no one really cares. And yeah, they just play Route 1 football and they just need every advantage they can get and X, Y, Z. And I was just like, fella, we're in the Premier League now. Reevaluate what you're trying to say and realise how stupid it sounds. And I bet if anyone, God forbid, if anyone recorded that, I really want to see it back because it painted a perfect picture and it genuinely had all of us crying with laughter in the corner. Like the only two things you could hear in this whole bar was his voice and this pocket of us in the corner just crying. And you saw fans looking at us like, God's sake, why has he gone and said that? And I was just, it just continues to prove the point, doesn't it? All we're doing every week is proving people wrong. Oh, they're going to break Derby's record. Been there, done that. Binned it off. See you later. Well, you're definitely going down, are we? Are we actually? Because last time I checked, PSG put 1 goal past Newcastle at St James's Park and we just went and slapped 4 past them. And at one point we were winning 4-2. And if you look at the two teams that were playing on the night of the PSG game and the Luton game, I can wholeheartedly tell you they are not very different. So last time I checked, does that mean by, weird football circle link analogies that Luton is greater than PSG? Yes. Yes, it does. And on that note, I'm going to end my tyrant and move on.
I think Kieran's made a good point. If you slapped a PSG shirt on Chio, is that because Mbappe?
Basically, I mean, Mbappe's one-footed, isn't he? So, like, yeah, he'd obviously have Dan Burn on skates. So, I mean, to be honest, PSG are so weird. There's like an alternate. Well, let's be fair. Ross Barkley would be their best midfielder. Firstly, he's probably one of the best in the world at this point. And the funny thing is people listen to me go, he's exaggerating. I actually don't think I am. I'm past words for that, man. But there's a few players in our team that I'd actually probably just put in the PSG team and go, you wouldn't look out of place.
Ask Dan Burn. You could outright ask Dan Burn. You're playing next week. Who would you prefer to come up against, Kylian Mbappe or Chio?
Well, based off of the home game, bearing in mind Dan Burn bloody scored against PSG as well, he'd probably go, do you know what, I'd take Mbappe all day long. Like, he could not get near Chio Ogbene at any point. And the fact that Chio actually, as good as he was, I still think he could have just got at him even more, which says a lot about how well he played and how lucky I think Newcastle were. Like, I've seen a lot of, funnily enough, and this isn't a stain on Newcastle fans at all, because you'll understand why. It's always the Newcastle content creators. True Geordie, you're one of them. Massive idiot. The other guy from Pitchside, I don't even know his name because he's that bloody boring. The pair of them are an absolute state on Twitter. We let Luton in too easy. Luton are this, Luton are that. Except the fact that you just weren't very good. A lot of Newcastle fans have said that, or except that we're actually a lot better than you think we are. Like, rather than do it, like, because this is also the same two people that, God forbid, when they made it 4-4, you probably had True Geordie on a live stream somewhere doing the shush and going, hey, Newcastle love it. Like, bugger off, man. Like, there's a lot of Newcastle fans that showed us a lot more respect, probably full time, as opposed to before the game, and that's completely fair because it's just standard stuff. Admittedly, they probably did go into the game thinking they should be turning us over, and on paper, you could make a case for it, but equally, as we say with away games, you just go away and you think, just don't go and lose. Simple as that. And lo and behold, there's there was probably an overriding feeling at 4-4 where we were like, we are not coming away with this at all. And we were all crapping ourselves up high in the gods. But Luton, as they always do, find a way to just prove us wrong and prove everyone wrong. And I'm more proud of the fact that we held on to the point as opposed to lost out on 3, if that makes sense.
And Jamie, we'll circle back to that Beresford comment because it looked about 6-7 minutes in that he could have actually had a point. Longstaff opening the scoring, and admittedly at that point I thought we could be in for a long day, but I think we showed a lot of character, not just that time, but when he scored his second as well, to get ourselves back into the game. Belief levels weren't hit at all by going a goal down, then obviously 2-1 down. As much as we can speak about the quality, and we will do, we'll get into the sort of individual performances. The character shown again in moments like that at St James's Park has to be commended.
Absolutely, but I think for me the goals we conceded certainly in the first half were just too weak. I think just a simple ball behind to Trippier, got down the right, squared it to Longstaff and put it beyond the keeper. I think, yeah, at 1-0 you do think shit, because you think, okay, they're 1 up, 6 minutes gone, are we gonna collapse? But to be fair, bar the first 2 games and bar the Villa away game, we've not really collapsed. I mean, Chelsea, you can say we did at home, but then got back to 3-2. But it's very rare this season that we've collapsed after conceding a goal. So you do keep the faith that we can just sort of just not lose our heads and kick on. And in that first half, bar their two goals, they had probably 1 or 2 more moments. I thought we edged it. So to go in 2-2 was entirely fair. And yeah, you can talk for days about the character that this Luton squad has shown, and this club has shown altogether over the last decade. That we've shown character in absolute abundance. And this squad is just another squad in the long line of Luton squads we've had in the last 10 years that have just don't know when they're KO'd, really. And yeah, to come back to 2-2, we certainly deserved to go in at half-time level.
And we do speak about this incredible quality that's been on display, particularly last couple of games. But as you say, Jamie, it's that resilience that's instilled into this squad that, you know, is so impressive. It is so impressive that we just don't know when we're beaten, and what an important quality trait to have in a relegation dogfight that we're in. Kieran, let's talk Ross Barkley again. Of course, we're close to having a dedicated section, 5 minutes of just celebrating Ross Barkley and the fact that he plays in a Luton Town shirt. I think it's not going to be too long until the club start charging like a Ross Barkley tax, money that's added onto our match day ticket just to watch him play. He is that good. And Gareth, those cries of get him on the plane, they are 100% warranted. Stop flying out to watch Jordan Henderson and watch this man. Don't you agree?
It is absolutely... Jamie, I know that you like watching England, and I know that you're a Southgate believer, but just let me have my 5 minutes here. I cannot fathom the idea that whilst there is multiple England internationals playing in our game or across the Premier League, and if anything epitomised Southgate, his management and his favouritism, Ross Barkley, the most informed English midfielder in the league. Players like Grealish are calling for this man. What does Gareth go do? Do you know what? Oh, Hendo. Oh, just moved to Amsterdam. Oh, I'll have a bit of that. Well, don't get me wrong, Gareth. Watching PSV versus Ajax is probably a big game. We've done it. It's quality. But we all know why you were there, you little Hendo bumlicker. Like, come on. It just, and the painful part for me is I envision this feeling of when that Euro squad comes out and you'll see Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips, and not Ross Barkley. And the only reason that man will get a miss from the squad is purely because he's a Luton player. And it actively grinds my gears because he is just so good at everything. Like, Jamie's dad summed it up perfectly the other day. He looked at me and went, every time he touches the ball, I'm at ease. I'm calm. I don't worry. And I was like, do you know what? I'm the same. The boy touches the ball and I just look and I just stare. I'm like, yeah, you could do anything right now. You could shag my non-existent missus. You could shag my future wife for all I care. You could do whatever the hell that you like, and I will sit here and be happy about it. He's so good at everything. Passing the ball, threading through the lines, creating attacks, sweeping up at the back as well. This man does everything. He is literally a workhorse in our team, which is ironic because that's what people do not perceive Ross Barkley to be. But we have built this absolutely incredible midfielder out of him, or bought it out of him and given him the platform to go, do you know what? Barks, you are the dog's bollocks, mate. Just go out there and show us, because we know you are. We don't need you to tell us. Just go and show it to the world. And whether he's here for a year or 5, what an absolute pleasure it is to watch this man week in and week out playing for our football team. Like, just every time he's on the ball, you know he's going to do something. Every single time. He got his goal, like, albeit a deflection, but he got his goal. He got his assists for Eli's goal. Just, he's everywhere. He's influential. You can hear I'm rambling. I just haven't got any more words to describe this man anymore.
Well, Jamie, from one free transfer to another, Chiedozie Ogbene, we've mentioned him at the start, the impact he had against the Dan Burn, who was probably glad he got axed off in the end. It was one of those games where Chio was just magic and continually got beyond him. He's such a sort of raw talent, but just no one can get near him. And you know, you can have all the pace in the world, but if you can't use it effectively, if your touch is poor, then you might as well not have that level of pace. But he's so clever with his touches to get beyond. I think he enticed Burn in a few times, and he can sort of use his left foot as well to shuffle inside or continue going. He's just such an exciting player to watch. We speak about Barkley and how lucky we are to have him. Well, in a completely different sense, Ogbene is just as exciting, especially, you know, that run that led to the eventual penalty. Ogbene has been largely very, very good for us this season, but where does that rank in his individual performance compared to this season? Was that his best game in the Luton shirt yet?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Dan Burn probably faked cramp in the end because he knew that if he didn't fake it, he'd get it for real at some point in the 90 minutes, just the amount he was chasing his tail. But no, I think it's certainly up there. I think Brighton probably was his best for me because, I mean, I was just watching Monday Night Football before we came on, and they were just looking at him, at his other attributes. Of course, yeah, he's the second fastest player in the league now. I think Van der Ven clocked higher, but he's up there with one of the fastest in the league. But it's the other qualities. It's the ability to bend your run. I mean, the previous fastest player we had was Harry Cornick, but he was caught offside 5 times a day, wasn't he? Like there was jokes that Harry Cornick was born offside, but not Chio. Like, yeah, I mean, he probably was caught offside at some point at the weekend, but it's really infrequent, and that's so important because you've got all the pace in the world, so you don't need to stand that 1 or 2 yards offside. Also, he's got that composure in that final third. He's starting to get that as well. I mean, the first goal after 18 seconds against Brighton, he knows against a Stupinian over 5 yards, he wasn't faster. He's faster over a longer distance. So when he put that ball in for Morris for the first goal against Brighton, he put it in from where he did because he knew he wasn't going to get past Stupinian. So he's got that quality now to get a ball into Morris, who got the assist for Eli. But then equally over 30, 40 yards, he's rapid. I mean, God, you're looking at the highlights of the weekend, and he was probably 5 yards behind Dan Burn with the ball at his feet, and within 2 seconds he was 5 yards beyond Dan Burn, and it's crazy. And I think Carragher summed it up nicely when the fullback's in for a foot race when he's not even looking at the ball. He's already off running. You got Chio who's sort of trying to run and beyond, and Danbo doesn't care where the ball is. He's thinking, right, I need to get as many yards ahead as I can and as fast as I can. And that just summed up the battle that Dan Burn was in at the weekend. And we'll come on to the poll in a bit. And I saw, in terms of Chio, would you put him further forward or would you leave him where he is? And it's, for me, I'll answer it now. I think you probably leave him where he is for the time being, because you've got the options up top, and to have that pace from a right wing back position is so important, because it gives him that distance to be able to run into. Whereas at times, I think you probably, if he's in that front three, he's probably double marked, or he's not given that time or space. But at wing back, he's almost forgotten about a little bit. But either way, I think he's got to keep playing in this team. I know he got pulled out a little bit early in the season for a niggle, and he sort of was given time to fully recover. But God, he seems like he's fully back to 10 out of 10 share now.
And that right wing back position, Jamie, I think that's completely changed from the start of the season. You think of Issa Kabore at the start of the campaign, we were naturally defending a lot deeper than we are now. Chio, you probably look at his positioning, you look at a heat map of where he was involved in the game, and it's pretty much like a right winger, and it's probably indicative of what we've been able to do the last couple of games, how brave we've been, the fact that we do step up and play a lot higher line, a lot higher shape, and that only benefits Chio and Doughty on the left. I don't think Doughty had his best of games at the weekend, but still, he took a high position. He was involved in a fair few forward moves that led to big chances. Ogbene on that right hand side, and especially as well with Clark and Morris playing as a two, but slightly tucked in, it just allows Ogbene to get in behind time and time again. And you're looking at Sheffield United game now, and we'll go on to it in a bit more detail soon. But whoever's operating on that left hand side, they're not sleeping easy this week. There's no chance.
But just on that, just on that bravery as well. But we're allowed to be brave because of that pace in the back line. And Edwards, I think, has said it in one of the pre-match presses, where we've got a lot of pace in that back five now. You've got Doughty and Chio on the wings. You've got Mengi and Osho who aren't slouches, and neither's Bell. So you think maybe you can commit one or two more and risk maybe being done on the counter, because one of those five will get back. Like that, Chio is one of the fastest in the league. If Mengi or Osho was to lose the ball and someone like a Gordon gets in behind, okay, Gordon's quick, but you just take that gamble that one or two of that back five will be able to get back in time. And that's allowing us to commit one or two men forward and try and be a bit braver on the ball and take more risks in the pass because of the pace in that back line. And that's so important to have such a agile, athletic back five. For me, is one of the top three reasons why we're doing as well as we are at the minute.
And it was also great to see Adebayo grab a 9th for the season, 4th in a week for him. What a player, what a forward. Jamie, you put the tweet out as well, basically suggesting he is as Premier League as you like now. There was sort of doubts at the start of the season whether he could adapt to Premier League football. And he's probably surpassed expectations in terms of how quick he has become sort of Premier League ready, Premier League capable, whatever you want to call it. But Morris as well. I think Morris has been fantastic since being moved into that kind of left forward role. Not quite out wide, but not quite central either. Picking up some really intelligent spaces and deserved to get on the score sheet. I think I seen today that it was the first time those two have scored in the same game since West Brom last season, where we lost 3-2.
Wow.
That might be wrong, and if I am wrong, I can only apologise. I'm sure someone can dig that out. But you then compare where we were at that game, where we thought we played okay, but we were suggesting, West Brom are this fantastic team. We have to appreciate how good West Brom are. The sort of growth since there just has to be appreciated. We say it after every week, how far we've come is absolutely fantastic. But that's, again, another measure of how good we've been this last year or so. And it's a game, again, that proves we've got very little to fear in this league. Yes, we've got some massive away games coming up during the back end of the season. We've got to go Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, all that. But it's a game that gives you belief that we can be competitive in these games where people automatically think that we can be brushed aside. That's not the Luton way. We'll go into a short break, and then when we're back, we'll go into the 3 polls of the week, and we'll also talk about any other business.
I'm in Mexico.
But I'm actually here in London.
And I'm in Stevenage. Oh, I'm actually stuck in Stevenage. I might be stuck in Stevenage, but thanks to NordVPN, with one click, I can be anywhere in the world, whenever, wherever.
Bill, son, hang on. What about me? I'm basically in Holland every other week. What am I supposed to do with that?
NordVPN works as your own little bodyguard, protecting your personal and sensitive data, making sure you're safe on the internet whenever, wherever. NordVPN is available for just the price of a coffee per month. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, please go to nordvpn.com/Oak Road Hatter. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and you'll help support our podcast. Link for this is in the podcast description box down below. Thank you very much. We are back for part 2 of today's episode, and we'll go straight into the polls of the week. And the first one is all things Daiki Hashioka. Of course, our January winter signing, a fee reported to be around the £1.72 million mark. Exciting prospect, but I guess there's question marks as to when we will get to see him involved. And that's the kind of direction we took with this poll. Will we see Hashioka involved at all against Sheffield United? Kieran, what do you think?
I think in the squad, yes, but starting 11, not a chance, not for a few weeks. It's tough now, isn't it? Where we were obviously just talking about Ogbene and how his revelation now as a wing-back is unbelievable. And now we're sat with Ogbene, Kabore, and Hashioka. There's like 3 right wing-back choices. And you kind of sit there and you're like, what on earth? How do you decide who then plays? Because like a lot of people would have easily gone, oh, well, Kabore's back from AFCON, so chuck him in. He was an unused sub on the weekend. There was no sign of him coming on. Ogbene played the 90 minutes. Ogbene more than deserved to play the 90 minutes. And then Hashioka again. It's like we're in a really good run of form, and I'm the biggest believer in if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in this case, Ogbene at right wing back isn't broken, so maybe there's a chance he doesn't even make the squad at all. Actually, now I've said that, because you don't need 3 right wing backs in the squad, and if Kabore is unused half the time, who knows?
What about yourself, Jamie? See Hashioka coming in? Because I think what Rob said as well, just on Kieran's point, is that Hashioka is someone they believe can play anywhere across that back line. So having that kind of versatility, and you consider the central defensive positions where Mads Anderson is still injured, Tom Lockyer situation, Dan Potts still hasn't featured yet. Do you think that Hashioka is a player that you get on the bench just because of that versatility, or do you think that he needs time still to settle in, and bringing him in further down the line is probably best suited to our plans going forward?
I think on the bench for sure. I mean, whether that's this Saturday or the following Sunday against United, it's going to be sooner rather than later. Because you've got 3 right wing backs then, but it's all about game state. You might want to put Gio forward and put on a right wing back, and you want that extra body. You've not got left-hand side cover, so could one go to the left? And he can play in a back 3. So do you swap him for Potts, for example? I mean, just given those options, I mean, I've just named 3 options in the space of 5 seconds without really thinking about it in detail. So just for bodies, I think, I think you can put him on the bench just so if you're 10, 15 minutes to go and you're winning 3-0 at the weekend, and you put him on just to give him some minutes and give him his debut as well. It's just all about that game state. Whereas actually, if you're 1-0 up with 10 to go, you probably do Kabore, given that he's used to that sort of Premier League pace and environment. So you can't beat options at this level, and I think Rob wants those tough choices to make. So yeah, I'd put him on the bench for sure on Saturday. Starting 11, absolutely not. I agree with Kieran. Don't fix what's not broken. Chio right, Doughty left, and that back 5 was awesome in a minute. So yeah, starting 11 for the time being is Chio's.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I want to see him in the squad, but not quite in the starting 11. I think it's the versatility factor. I'd still say at the moment Kabore is above him in the pecking order. That's without seeing Hashioka, of course. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He's been training for a while now. The settling in process will take some time. He's obviously never played English football before, and taking that step further, never played Premier League football. So that's always going to take time. In terms of the poll result, there were 47% who went yes, they see Hashioka involved in some capacity, 53% at no. We'll move on to the second poll, and that is how many points do you expect us to pick up in the next 5 games? And just for those that don't know off by heart, that is Sheffield United and Manchester United at home, then Liverpool away, Villa at home, Palace away. So 3 home games sandwiched into that, 2 away. We have 0 to 3. We've got 4 to 7 points. We've got 8 to 11, and we've got 12 plus as the options. Reversing the order. Jamie, what do you think?
So I'm going to go, let's do the maths. Do 3 Sheffield United, 1 United, 4. Nothing at Liverpool, still 4. 1 against Villa, 5. 3 against Palace, 8. That's me.
All right, Kieran.
3 at Chef, 1 at United, 0 against Liverpool, 0 against Villa, 3 at Palace, and we're going to sack Roy as well. The Luton managerial curse will strike again. So I'm going 7 points, which would then put us on what? 27? Oh, that sounds quite sexy, actually, doesn't it? Yeah. Not bad.
Not bad at all. So running through the results of the poll, we had 1% at 0 to 3. We had 66% at 4 to 7. We had 31% at 8 to 11. And we had 2% being the optimistic 12 plus. We'll finally go to the third poll, and it's the one that we've mentioned sort of in our Ogbene assessment, and it is: would you keep Chio at right wing back in games to come, or would you prefer him higher up the pitch? Kieran, we've sort of alluded to our answers when we did speak about Chio, but where would you go with this one?
I'd say he's probably had his best games at right wing back. Like, it's not to say that he's had bad games as a right winger, but you look at now the way that Rob's trying to deploy this 3-4-2-1. If you were to look at like the heat map of a Jordan Clark so far, he's not playing as an out-and-out winger on that right side. He's dropping into midfield, and a lot of the times creating a midfield 3 as opposed to 5-2-2-1, right? So then the reason Ogbene has had that success is by having that extra man in midfield, which gives him the extra space, especially in a game like Newcastle. When you've got Dan Burn, you can just run it in for days and days and days, and you're never going to not lose that battle. So if we're playing the way we are right now, then Chio's best position is right wing back. However, I do also believe he does have something at least to offer when it comes to playing as an out-and-out right winger. I just think his best games have come on the left as well when he's played with Doughty. So if he's playing as a winger, he needs the right fullback to complement him, and I'm not sure Kabore does, personally.
That's fair enough. Jamie, what about you? Would you say the current right wing back position, or would you say higher up as sort of a winger, a wider kind of supporting player for Elijah Adebayo? So
Yeah, I think what Kieran said is fair. I think tactically there has been a bit of a tweak recently. I think Morris and Clark has almost sort of weirdly false nines off Eli a little bit, has given space to Doughty and Sharon in those wide areas. So in the current tactical setup, then yeah, I think Chio's best position is that wing back role. Clearly, we're not going to play that shape in every game. We might switch up and go back to a fairly up to speed front three. We might go to back four, and then you put Chio right mid, for example. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to pigeonhole players. I think what Rob has done fantastically well, not just this season, but last season as well, has just been able to have that flexibility tactically. So he'll play in both roles, no doubt, over the next 15 games or so. But in terms of the current tactical setup in this sort of 3-4-2-1, as Kieran called it, yeah, for sure, in that wing back role.
that is certainly fair enough. And in terms of the results of that poll, we had 62% at current right wing back position, and we had 38% at higher up. I think if you go on the basis of the last two games, how effective Chio has been, arguably two of his best performances have come in the last two, and that is at right wing back. At the start of the campaign, though, when we were absolutely raving about him, like we are probably now, they came sort of on the left wing where he was absolutely destroying his fullback. I think probably the key message is just let's just have Chio playing. I think we just want him on the pitch, regardless of where he is. He's going to cause problems, and that's sort of been demonstrated the last couple of weeks, especially with Ross Barkley playing the kind of ball, and Sambi Lokonga, because I don't think we can't forget Sambi Lokonga. Some of the passes he has put out to that wing. I don't know if you boys seen it, but there was somebody slating Lokonga's performance at the weekend, which I do not get whatsoever. I think he was fantastic yet again, and what a play he's proven to be for us as well. We'll go on to the transfer window. Of course, it's now shut, and we spoke about it a lot during it. Eventually, it proved to be a relatively quiet month. Of course, we welcomed Hashioka. We welcomed Holmes that went back out. And we also welcomed Harris. It was the three H's that came in. Obviously, Holmes and Harris were from Reading. Harris is a player that we'd probably expect to see in time to come. We don't expect to see him as of yet. He'll probably continue his development with the under-21s and the development squad. What do you think, Kieran, in terms of the business done during the transfer window? Do you think it's about what you expected? You think of the 25-man squad we've got now going into the remainder of the season. Are you confident that is a squad that keeps us up? I guess how do you assess how the transfer window played out?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think at the start of the window, you had your Barry Moaners on Twitter that were very much like, we have to make X signing, we have to make Y signing, we have to have a centre half, we have to have this, we have to have that. And like, there's elements of truth to it, but also, again, I'll echo what I said earlier. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Rob's made a big emphasis on how our group is so tight-knit. And the last thing that you need is a bad egg to come in and ruin that mentality. So at the moment, you've got 25 players, whether you think that Corley Woodrow is a Premier League striker, or you think Luke Berry should be playing League One, or Dan Potts should even be in the 25, hypothetically, they're in the 25, they're our players, and as it stands, they have given everything every time they've stepped on the pitch. It's a fact. And ultimately, whether you believe that we needed a centre half, whether you believe that Pelly's not good enough to come off the bench in the Premier League or whatever else. They're in the 25 for a reason, and as much as you think as a fan you know about the player, Rob Edwards probably knows him a little bit more than you do. So he wouldn't have bought a player in to replace them unless they're the right type of player. Like, you look at the signings we've made. Holmes, I like it. Was very surprised we didn't go in for Tom McIntyre, but then again, it shows how much I know because he's just gone to Portsmouth and they're in League One. So, fine. You then look at Harris, again, signing for the future. And then Hashioka, he's probably the only one that's probably looking at first team, realistically, obviously, because Holmes has gone back out on loan and Harris is one for the future. If we were to make any more signings, I probably would have made them more under the vein of Harris as opposed to like more first team players. I think that first 11 we have now, that's our first 11 between now and the end of the season. We're staying up without a doubt. And then you have this group of players who want to come off the bench and are hungry and willing to give us 20 minutes, see out games, get last minute winners, cheers Corley, and just do what they need to do for this season, just do the job. But at the end of the day, this season, we can't be that team who, we've never been that team who takes a risk in the transfer window. And like, people can say what all they like. Oh, well, we spent 5 million on Giles and it didn't work out, or we could spend this much on that player. And you never know. Like Morgan Whittaker, for example, was a player that was sort of doing the rumours, and we were looking at double digits for him if we got him. So yeah, we could take a punt on Morgan Whittaker. Yeah, we could probably afford to give Plymouth 12 million. If we go down, then there's 12 million that we'd struggle to recoup potentially if he then went on for a bigger move. Or it's just, I think there's been a lot of pushing and shoving about the transfer window, and personally, it's not that deep. I'm not actually that bothered as such. Like, yeah, we missed out on a couple of our targets. Yes, Zambrano didn't come in. Yes, there was a saga. Yes, we missed out on Nelson Abbey. But am I going to throw a fit and post 10 paragraphs on Twitter about it? No. Why? Because as annoying as this is going to be to some people, I do actually trust the process. I do actually trust the people that are in charge of this football club, rather than just saying, oh, yeah, well, trust the process because everything's fine. Yeah, because it is. It has been up until now. So that ain't going to change for me. So in terms of a transfer window, could it have been better? Yeah, of course it can. But that's the same with any club. Any club's transfer window could have been better. And equally, if you look at the state of the rest of the league, how many clubs in the league actually went balls to the wall in January? The answer is absolutely no one. So then why should we then be an exception to that?
Jamie, January window is notoriously overpriced, inflated prices going around. So naturally, we didn't expect it to be a busy month in the context of Luton, in the context of the Premier League. Were you content with the business that we'd done during January? Did you expect a little more? Do you think we exited the window in a stronger position than we eventually did?
I don't think you can probably answer that last question is yes. I think you'd be lying to yourself if you think we've exited the January window in a stronger position. I mean, the argument could say, well, we entered January without Lockyer in the Canberra, so exiting has been the same. But I think if you look at the closure of the summer window to the closure of the winter window, we have got weaker because we've lost Lockyer, we've lost Nakamba for not sure how long for either of those. We've lost Giles, which you can argue is not a big loss because he didn't get many minutes, but then to be fair, we've replaced with Hashioka, so that's like for like. But I think overall we have come out weaker. Now, completely get Kieran's thoughts with trust the process. I agree in general with that specific statement, but I think for me, I would sleep a bit easier at night if we just had that extra body in midfield. And I get not disrupting the apple cart, etc., because the squad is really, really tight. But I just think having that extra body would just help so much, because we are one potentially season-ending injury away from being in a bit of bother. We've seen how important Barkley and Lukonga are. And I think the difference with saying midfield over other areas is because we've got someone on that shortlist that we've clearly identified that we want. Now, I'll come on to Zambrano in a minute, but I think conversely, centre half, we had Abbey, lost out on Abbey to Olympiacos. It happens, like whatever. Like we went for him, played the change of heart, and thought a move to Greece was the best move for him. We can go into detail about the agents and argue the toss over that, but it is what it is. That's football. Not bothered. Centre forwards, there was lots of rumours, but no real obvious link in terms of actually we really wanted someone. So if there's not a target that we think is good enough for a long term play, then don't get him. Fine, I'm not bothered about that. But I think in midfield there was someone that, per fairly strong rumours, and even the director at Quito in Ecuador has said that we were after him. His agent said we were after him. That there were concrete links between us and Zambrano. That's not in the know on Twitter. That is just doing a bit of fact finding, a bit of research. That for me, as far as I'm aware, that is fact. We were after Zambrano. Now, a bid for one reason or another wasn't accepted because Zambrano wanted his 15%. But it seemed like a bid for Bournemouth was accepted or close to being accepted, and Zambrano looked like he was making a move to England, and for one reason or another that fell through. Now, when that fell through with 10 days of the window to go, knowing that we'd lost Nakamba for an currently indefinite amount of time, clearly he's a long-term replacement. Clearly he's someone that we really want, given we went after him for 6 months. Clearly a lot of people agree, given that Bournemouth were after him quite publicly. United were linked with him, and a few German clubs were linked with him. Whether that was concrete or not, I don't know. I just think, given that all of those things, that we had someone shortlisted who we really, really wanted, because he got to the stage that we flew our chief scout out there to go and have some discussions. I just think we may have missed a trick, maybe just extending us a little bit just to get him in the door, because who knows, we might get him in the summer if we stay up, but in the summer Bournemouth might go back in for him, some other clubs might go back in for him, and that could be one that we curse as one that got away. So for me, I would have probably upped the bid by $1 million or two more, because it's only $1 million or two. It's only $1 million or two more. It's not loads. You're making $4 million back off Ryan Giles, so that sort of fills the hole a little bit, and that could just be the difference between either A, staying up this year if we were to lose Lukonga or Barkley, and B, long term, if he was the next Caicedo that everyone was talking about, then that could set us up for a nice little payday. So that does make me a little bit disappointed, because clearly we wanted him. He wanted to come to us. He would have come to us probably not expecting to get in straight away, given the midfield too. So for me, that just ticks 90% of the boxes that we're after. So yeah, if we'd have got Zambrano, I think then I would have been perfectly happy.
Let's end with a person that we haven't really talked about for a while, and that's Nathan Jones. He is a manager that continues to get slated for stints that he had at Stoke and Southampton. Probably a little bit unjust because of the situations he walked into. And you probably consider the Southampton job, how things didn't improve under next management, goes to show that it's not entirely Mr. Jones's fault, but he's got a new job. It's in League One with Charlton Athletic, a club that have the infrastructure. I want to say have the infrastructure. They certainly have the infrastructure compared to a lot of other League One clubs to compete and to embark on a journey similar to the one we had under Jones's stewardship. Jamie, I'll come to you first. Nathan Jones to Charlton Athletic. Did it catch you by surprise? And second of all, do you think he's got the ability to work well at that club?
For sure, and I'm not surprised. Charlton are a big club. Let's make no bones about it, despite all of the quote unquote rivalry we've had over the years because of various leagues and challenges in the leagues that we've been together. I think it's a great fit. He could have easily gone to a bottom half champ team, but we know how tough the championship is, and to come in at this time of the season and keep someone up, or I mean, because at this point, there's two reasons why a manager goes: is either someone's sacked because a team's fighting for their life, or someone's been poached by someone that's been sacked in a higher league, for example. So given the time of year, etc., I think it's the almost perfect move for him. He's someone he's used to as a club. Like, okay, he was used to us for a little bit, but not fully. But there's that tie there with the club before, and they've got the foundations to go on and do really well. You sort of put them in the ballpark as like a Bolton or a Portsmouth. Good fan base, good club, good infrastructure. Probably question marks on ownership. But that's not for us to delve into. But I think he'll do well. But I think if you look at when he came in to us as a League Two club, sitting down in the sort of the lower half of League Two, not really at any danger, but it could have turned dangerous if we'd waited a few weeks. I think that's the exact position that Charlton are in at the minute. It could have turned serious a few weeks if they sort of didn't appoint someone pretty soon, and I think it's the perfect situation for Nathan. I already put them odds on for playoffs next season, I think, in League One. So there'll be a second tier team again very soon, I think.
And for Charlton fans that probably have been roped into the narrative of he's a manager that's failed. His only stint he's been successful in is at Luton, where we played direct football. You can probably scratch that off because you consider how we got to the Championship. We played some of the best football I've seen us play, particularly in that League One season. Liquid football at times, tactically flexible. A manager that wears his heart on his sleeve, and you bet your bottom dollar that he is going to be ensuring that club is competitive next season. This season will be about stability. It's a project that he's walking into. But yeah, if you're a Charlton fan, don't get roped into the notion that he plays football one way. He will assess his squad. He will know how to get the best out of that current crop of players. And you think of the two jobs that he's quote unquote failed at. They're clubs that didn't take a liking to him before he had even managed a game. That they judged him on appointment and the fact that he was Luton's manager. That was the basis they judged him on. Of course, didn't help himself a couple of times with interviews he gave, but ultimately, I think it's a very good appointment with very high potential rewards. And Nathan Jones, you might think, why are we still speaking about him? But he did have a massive impact on our club, and a big reason as to why we've got to enjoy the moments that we've got to enjoy. So yeah, that's finalised today's pod. We'll be back later in the week for a preview of Sheffield United that now becomes absolutely massive. A big thank you to everyone that's watched, listened, interacted today. A call for people to continue subscribing. We're building up the channel nicely at the moment, and it will be nice to continue doing that. So yes, another call to subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. As we say, we'll be back during the week for the Sheffield United preview. It's goodbye from us.